The next step on our side walls is to put on the fascia. Now, hopefully you can see we have got a nice coat of trim color in there on all sides. And I pulled out of my kit 3 templates, or 3 jigs. D1, D2, and T2. T2 is for windows. And what we're going to do with these jigs is we're going to put it in the opening. Wow. There we go. Put it in the opening. Put it in from the back because they aren't necessarily perfectly the same. We're going to take a frame, put some glue on the back, and then lay it over the window thing, and we'll press it down with a non-gluey toothpick. That'll be our non-gluey toothpick. We're going to do a similar thing for the door. So let's take this window. It just instead of trying to line them up by hand, I just find this a lot easier personally than trying to line it up by hand. Now to put glue on the back of these, I have my favorite glue spreader other than my toothpick is my finger, but I also have paper towels to wipe off my finger as soon as I do it so that I don't, and you don't want it to move, but you don't really want the glue all over the place. So, okay, so I've got that. Wipe off my finger. Pick this up. Flip it over. Clean up some of the glue a little bit, the excess. Again, my paper towel will help me do that. And we'll just slide it over the jig. Okay, then get a clean toothpick and press it down around there. Just to get it pressed down so it won't move when I remove the jig. Now I don't want to leave the jig on very long because it's definitely going to have some glue on it from this window. So I just go like that. Then I press it to go out the back door. And there we have our trim on. Okay. Now we'll do the same thing with the door. This particular door is a side door, and the side doors use this D2 jig. This doesn't go in as far, but it'll help us. Now you see the side doors have the smaller of the lights, or 2 of them. They have the smaller of the lights. So let's pre-align it. Make sure we know what we're doing. See, it'll go right on like that. And again, by wobbling the jig on this one, we'll get it centered. So that's about what we want. And you see how, in the end, after this glue dries, then we'll cut the bottom off, okay? So not putting it in the same mess I just did. In fact, I may wipe that up so I don't wipe that up a little bit, but I don't want to use that spot. I'll put my finger there so it doesn't move. I'll wipe some glue all the way down to the bottom. Take my finger and wipe it off. Pick this up, put it over the jig. way too high. I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to sort of toggle this jig, meaning make the bottom go out, make the top go out. There we go. I'm going to use my fingers to press it. These jigs don't go out as far as the window jig. Okay, let's see what that looks like. All right. Clean up a little bit of glue with my toothpick. Like I said, we're going to paint over that, so that really won't matter. There we go, and that's how you do that's how you put the fascia on. We'll let that dry, and then we'll cut the other off from the back later. All right, I'll do the rest offline. The same, the T1 is the same way. You put the jig in. Oops, that's not a T1. That's why that doesn't D1. Here's the end as the D1. When the jig goes in, you can toggle it. You see I toggle it back and forth. That gets it fit in the square nicely. Okay, I'm going to do this offline, and we'll be back later after the glue dries to paint the inside, give it a last coat, and cut the bottom off the doors. The glue that's holding on the trim should have dried enough. So now I'm going to go in. I'm actually going to have a sharp knife and cutting off these things. And it's very simple, but I don't slice across like this. I just go down. That keeps you from, there you go. Nice clean cut. I'll do each of those. Hopefully I was in there. I'm having trouble staying in the camera again. There we go. Could have done a little better job on that one. So I think I'll come in from this angle. There we go. We'll do that one too. And as soon as I get these cut, what we're going to do is clean up. There we go. Clean up in here where that's actually some white paint or something. So we're going to clean that up. First thing I want to do is just look, use a toothpick, or if there are any globs of glue that got stuck in there when we put it on, just knock it out with your toothpick or with a little knife. Okay, let's just check things. That looks pretty good. It's pretty good. And that looks good. All right. So we're going to take some of our barn red paint that was our fascia paint. I mean our trim paint was our fascia paint too. Put a little in our bowl, and we're just going to touch up. That's a little more than we need, but it isn't. That's a bubble. And I got my little tiny brush. Again, I'm going to go in from the back because I don't really want, that one's a nice white. I don't want to make a mistake at this point and touch I got to put my glasses on. Okay, now I can see. So I'll go in from the back, and I just go along and fill in here. It gets rid of that white, makes a good connection. My bubble just popped. See? Very gently. We'll do that. Now I got a big white spot up here. There we get rid of that. Okay, might as well do all the angles, all the parts while I'm here. All right, let's do this. This is our last real paint job on this. Next we get to start assembling these, putting in windows and doors. We put those in, one of the last things actually will be to square this up and put the four sides together. But we'll put in even the curtains before we put it together. That's a little easier. On the bigger O-scale models, that's not much as a problem, but these little HO ones, I basically, because of the size of my fingers and hands, like to get as much done before I make it into a little box. We'll even put on the doorknobs, which is one of my favorite parts. So, all right, I think I've pretty much done this one. Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, I almost turned it around. Don't want to do that. Come in from the seat because it's hard to hit that little hole sometimes. There we go. There we go. Okay, I got that one done. I'm going to finish up the others. And then after this dries, we'll be back and start inserting stuff. After I painted the inside here, I went around and checked them all. And they were fine. So I'm ready to start installing the doors and windows. Now, I do sort of like these windows that I stained with just, the doors that I stained with just the natural stain. So I'm going to go ahead and use those, and we'll see what it looks like in the end. The windows are symmetric, so it doesn't matter which way we mount them. These little tram lights above the doors are not, and we always mount them. Most of it is covered, and the extra here is mainly for glue, but you have to mount them with the thick part to the top. So I'm going to put out, I'll show you how we mount these. I'll just mount a few and then we'll. So I'm going to put my glue over here. Okay. Now I'm going to start with the little tram light. Just put a touch on the bottom, just to hold it. That part could show, so I don't really want to put too much on there. Just an absolute touch, just to hold it in a little bit. I definitely don't want it scored out. Further out here, that's mainly for gluing, so I can put a little more on out there. As long as I don't put on so much that it squeezes out into the main window area, and I'll put it out toward the edge. These 4 pane lights go in the side. It's pretty easy to see from the dimensions of the opening. There we go. And they just go in from the back. There we go, and we center them in the door like that. We got a little space for the door. We make sure they're square. Okay, now before they we're going to put our door in. Our door is going to go in like this. Make sure we get the big panels to the top the knob to the right. That's the way these were. And again, the outside, we can put a little more glue on because that's just really is a gluing surface. On the top, just a tad to hold it in. Just a tad. And we'll put some on the other side. I'm not sure I'm in. I better get out here where I'm in the camera view. There we go. And we pop that in from the back also. There we go. Make sure that's nice and lined up. Everything looks good. There we go. We'll set that off to the side for a minute. And I'm going to put a bottle of paint on it to put a little pressure on it to hold it. Give it a good squeeze. And then put my paint on it. Let me look at it before it looks pretty good. Okay. I'll come and put the window in later. In fact, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the window in this one, and then I'll put the door in later. So there's quite a bit of space. Let's put in the window so you can see. There's quite a bit of space around the window for gluing here. So we'll just put we don't need too much, but we'll just put a little dose of glue on this outer edge. Again, we don't want, see, that's plenty. We don't want so much that it squeezes in and gets on our window when we press on it, but we do want enough to hold it in. There we go. We'll put it on all four edges here. So let's put that in. There we go. Let's get it centered and straight. There. That looks pretty good. Put it down, give it a nice press, turn it back over, make sure everything's okay. And we'll set it aside and put a bottle on it. All right, it's been about 15 minutes since I put those in. I just wanted to leave them long enough that when I put in the other ones, they don't slide around. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to install the window on this side, just like I did before. And then I'll install the other. My hands were getting a little sticky, so I washed them, cleaned my plate. We're going to start with some new glue. It's a lot easier working with a glue that once it starts to set up, it's a little hard to spread around. So don't leave it too long or it makes your work a little more difficult. Same thing as before. Doesn't matter which way. Put a little on the edges. You get a strand of glue, I just spin my toothpick. Okay, I hope it better be in the picture here. If I'm not, you're wondering what I'm doing. Okay, whoops, I'm going to call that quits. Wipe my finger, I can see the glue that I got on that by holding it. Press that down and center it. There we go. It looks pretty good. Put that up here. Put a thing of glue on it. Then on the side door, again, just like the other door, the very thick part is the top. And we want to put that in. And then on the door, I forgot to mention, if you look closely at the door, you'll see there actually, the bottom part will be flush with the sides. The top part sticks out a little bit. That's just to give you a little glue so you can get it on that part. So I'm going to put in the light first. See, on this bottom part, just ever so lightly. Yes, I was holding my breath. I don't know whether it helps, but it makes me feel I'm being a little more stable. Okay. Remember the thick part to the top. There we go. A little crooked, get it centered. Okay. Now, I'm going to install this trim later after this door is in there permanently, but I decided to go with a chestnut. This is an apple barrel chestnut. It'll give it a little bit of contrast. I'll put the door in, then after the door is solid, I'll put this on. The door will act as a way to frame that. I mean, the building itself will act as a way to frame that. So I won't be doing that on camera, but that's basically what I'm going to do is put a little glue on the back and put it on the door and use the frame of the door as a way to get that correct. Again, you can see just this little tab here for the top. I just want a hair on that to hold it to that post. Okay. Almost there. Whoops, probably I'm out of view, but I'll try to get back in view. There we go. Make sure these, by looking at the back, the knob's on the right. Make sure that you've got it actually in the frame. You can look at the back and see that it's in the frame and it's pushed up so that the bottom is flat. There we go. Put a little pressure on that. There we go. And those are our windows and doors in. And our next thing will be to put the braces on that we'll use to square these things up. Now we're going to put on the top and the side braces. And they only go on these side pieces, the rectangular pieces. Basically, they're going to go flush on the end. So it's very easy to put them on. We just glue them up. There's no specific place. We just want it like that. We want some space at the top and space at the bottom. We're going to put one on each end. And then just to show you what we're going to do, this is the light brace. I like my light in the middle. So I'm going to put one here, but it will be the distance of the brace away from the top, so that when we're done and we lay the brace on there, the brace will be flush with the top. So let's start doing this. Very easy. We only have 6 braces, and this is very important because your roof won't fit unless you do it this way. If you try to put the braces flat on the end pieces, you obviously get the wrong dimensions for the building. So that's not good. Push it down on, push it over. Make sure that the building is up against it. Hold it down, and you're done. Put another one on. Put a little glue on just one side of the brace, obviously, but we're only gluing one side right now. That's a little too much glue. That's going to squirt everywhere, but what did that say right about there? Push it up against, push the brace up against, so we got it good and flat. Push it down, and we're done there. You see, it ought to be flush, ought to be flush. Now we're going to put one more in the middle, and it'll be that LED brace, center brace away from the top. Lay it down and just slide it. It only has to be approximately centered. You just push it up. You don't want to pull your brace out of there. You don't want to. I think I may have bumped this one, so I'm going to check it again. Okay. And we're done. We just have to do the same thing to the other one. And we're done with the braces. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to do the same thing to the other one. To do the doorknobs, we need a set of wire cutters and our wire from our kit. And what we want to do is have about a 64th of an inch of the wire sticking out of the hole. Now, that instead of trying to measure that, what I do is I put a little bend in the end of the wire, just like that. Actually, I want to bend it at about a right angle, say, or even stiffer. Then I cut off 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, maybe, of wire. Then I take that wire, put it through the hole, it's going to be a little difficult sometimes to get that little wire through there. There it goes. That's actually pretty good the way I bent it. But I glue it down here, and then what I can do is either push it in more or pull it out more at that point. So this looks pretty good just like it is. So I put a dab of glue on. Get my Tiki-Tac glue. Oops. Air from the glue blew my wire around. There we go. Just to hold that wire at the end in place. Now, like I said, once that's dry, if I need a little more wire sticking out so that it looks good, I'll push on that. If I need a little less, I'll pull on it. So that's all there is to installing doorknobs.